Your FastMCP server is installed and running, but how do you ensure it has the right API keys, debug flags, and environment variables without exposing your entire system? You'll see exactly how to configure environment variables in Cursor's MCP JSON, so your server gets the secrets and settings it needs, while staying completely isolated from your local shell.
MCP servers. Weather server. Command Python. args //weather server hi. env API key. Your API key. Debug true.
This demonstrates the configuration as code pattern for server management, where infrastructure requirements are declared alongside application logic. The JSON schema defines a complete execution environment, including runtime dependencies, environment variables, and process configuration in a single declarative manifest. What makes this distinctive is how it treats server deployment as a reproducible specification rather than a series of manual setup steps. The approach works by externalizing all operational concerns from your application code. Environment variables, package dependencies, and execution commands live in a version-controlled configuration file, while your server logic remains pure Python. This separation enables different deployment scenarios, local development, CI/CD, production, to use the same codebase with environment-specific configurations, following the 12-factor app principles. This pattern matters because it solves the works on my machine problem at scale. By codifying all dependencies and runtime requirements, you eliminate implicit environment assumptions that cause deployment failures. The trade-off is initial setup complexity, but the payoff comes when scaling from local development to production deployments, or when sharing tools across different AI clients that each have unique environment constraints. Let's break it down line by line. This opens a JSON configuration object. The outer curly braces define the root structure for FastMCP server configurations, where each key represents a distinct server instance.
MCP servers.
Defines the MCP server configuration section. This top-level key groups all server definitions in a single namespace, enabling clean organization and easy access to multiple server configurations.
Weather server.
This defines a named server configuration under the weather server key. The key acts as a unique identifier for this specific MCP server instance, allowing targeted management and deployment of multiple services within the same configuration file.
Command Python.
Specifies the executable to run the server process. This is the command line interpreter that will execute the script defined in args, in this case invoking Python to run the weather server script.
args //weather server hi.
This specifies the command line arguments for the server process. The array defines the script to execute with //weather server pi as the entry point, ensuring the correct Python module runs when the server starts. This pattern mirrors how subprocess calls work in Python's subprocess run.
env.
The env key defines environment variables for the server process. This injects configuration at runtime without hard-coding sensitive values or environment-specific settings, enabling consistent behavior across development, staging, and production. Follows the 12-factor app pattern for explicit environment configuration.
API key. Your API key.
This environment variable injects the API key required for weather service authentication. Without it, the server would fail to initialize, as external API calls require proper credentials.
Debug true.
This environment variable enables debug mode, providing verbose logging and detailed error traces. Critical for development, but should be disabled in production to prevent sensitive data exposure. This closing brace terminates the env dictionary, completing the environment variable configuration for the weather server service. It ensures all specified variables are properly scoped to this server instance, preventing leakage into other services. This closing brace terminates the env dictionary definition, completing the environment variable configuration for the weather server service. It ensures all specified variables are properly contained within the service's configuration block. This closing brace terminates the weather server configuration block, finalizing the server definition within the MCP server's dictionary. It maintains proper JSON structure, ensuring the configuration remains valid and parsable by FastMCP's server manager. Closing brace terminates the JSON configuration object. This ensures proper structure and prevents syntax errors when parsed by configuration loaders. Server configuration pattern. This JSON configuration demonstrates FastMCP's server management approach, where environment variables and execution commands are explicitly declared for isolated execution environments. The server name in the configuration becomes the prefix for all tools and resources, so choose names that are both descriptive and concise. Always validate your environment variables are correctly passed, as the isolated execution environment won't inherit your shell's configuration.
The configuration that restricts the server liberates the client